This is Judge Joe Brown, and you're watching We All Be News TV, the
News-free Dixie.
News-free Dixie for the 21st century.
We All Be is honored here on the one and only Brother Thomas Armstrong, who's a true freedom fighter extraordinaire. You gotta check out his book, The Autobiography of a Freedom Rider, My Life as a Foot Soldier for Civil Rights. We have him today in the era of the Trump guys. The era of Donald Trump, to get his unique perspective about what's going on today, and also his incredible life story. It's better than Hollywood fiction. How you doing today, Brother Armstrong?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Thanks for having me here today.
Well, it's an honor to have you on the second day of spring.
Yeah.
And, Can you tell us a little bit about your background? Just a little bit to get a taste about who you are, where you come from, your roots.
Okay, first of all, I was born early 1941 really, in a small town, actually a small black community called Lucas, Mississippi, near right in the middle of two rural towns, Prentice and Silver Creek, Mississippi, 60 miles south of Jackson. Went to high school there at Prentice Institute, renowned high school there in Prentice. In fact, at that time, there was only 3 high schools in the state. So we went to that one close by. Went there, finished there enough and went to Tougaloo College. Tougaloo College, we call Tougaloo College an oasis in the midst of a storm, simply because they were the only free place in Mississippi where groups of integrated individuals could meet and discuss current events, civic events, and so forth, without being arrested or intimidated. And also, Tougaloo College taught its students how to think for themselves, but not only that, they taught them that freedom was around the corner, but it wasn't coming to you. It was not going to come to you. You had to go get it. And because of that type of teaching and training by its instructors, faculty, president on down, students at Tougaloo College was a great part of the civil rights movement of the 1960s.
So that's how you basically got involved in the movement.
Actually, involved, first getting involved with the movement. I got involved with the movement when I went to Tougaloo. I went to Tougaloo College in 1958.
Okay.
At second semester, beginning of second semester, they were having mass meetings in Jackson, Mississippi. Mass meetings where community would come together and speak of current events, civic events, and get instruction from the civic leaders as to what direction and what they were going to do in the coming weeks and months. And so a friend of mine, a schoolmate of mine, and myself attended one of those meetings. And it just so happened, we were lucky, I say now we were very lucky, that Medgar Evers was moderating that particular meeting. And he was speaking of how in 1956, 1,000 individuals, in my home county, Jefferson Davis County, not only my county, but all of the county, he had lists of them. In my home county, 1,000 individuals were arbitrarily taken off the voter rights rolls. And he wanted young people to help him replenish those voter registration rolls. And so he put out the call, and so I answered the call, because some of the people I knew that had been taken off the rolls were our kinfolks. And so I felt I had no choice but to, help him do what we could to get individuals back on those voter rolls. And what we would do, Medgar Evers had contacts all over the state, everywhere in the state. So what he would do, he would contact his contacts, mostly reverends, pastors of churches, and set up voter registration classes for blacks in the area. And he would notify individuals at Tougaloo to go out there and give those classes. That's what we did, starting in 1959. And so we would go out. Sometime they would be in classes, would be in churches, sometime under old oak trees, whatever the case might be. Most of the time it would be 10 to 15 individuals, okay? And we generally gave 2 classes at a particular place. After that, we would escort the individuals to the courthouse, various courthouses, or they would go themselves. Because many times it would be more dangerous if we escorted them there. We found that out later after a couple of guys who got beaten up and so forth by just being there. But anyway, that's how I actually got started in the movement in voter registration work with Medgar Evers. Then, of course, we got graduated from that. We went on. The Freedom Riders came in, and I decided to become a part of them. And we did a lot of protesting. We protest every week. Students from Tougaloo down in Jackson. First protest being schoolmates of mine at the library there. We called them the Tougaloo 9, and those individuals, classmates, attempted to integrate the white library there in Jackson. And the books, we made sure that those books they were looking for were not available in our library, so we went there to the white library, and of course they were arrested and that was the beginning of the student participation in the movement. Okay. So that's how everything started.
That is very fascinating. I mean, I look forward to reading the book. I'll agree with Freedom Rider. It goes into more detail about what you just basically gave me. Excellent summary.
Sure.
I'm very excited. I think I'm gonna read this book in one day.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna be able to put it down. I already know that. I want to ask you this, because I'm very curious, because I want to understand, because we talk about the big 3 from the civil rights movement, the 3 M's, the M and M and M, with Martin, Malcolm, and Medgar. But people seem like they don't really understand the impact of Medgar Evers, because we don't really have too many speeches like a Malcolm has or Dr. King of him, like being able to rally people. But the fact that you said that he spoke at an event,
mass meeting,
And so, what type of person was he? What type of speaker was he?
Very low key type guy, very, very courageous. I used to tease my dad all the time. I used to tell my dad, I think Medgar Evers is braver than you. But my dad said, yeah, but he don't have to live with me every day. But Medgar, on the outside, very courageous guy, was not afraid of anything, doing anything related to civil rights and trying to help his people improve the condition of blacks in the state. As for the students that he dealt with, he taught us not only how to live, but he taught us how to live in such a way that we knew that we had to die for something. And if you died for something, he would say, why not die for something trying to help the people? Makes sense that way. But Medgar, very good friend. He was always there. Most of the demonstration that we did, Medgar was down the street there looking. So he was there. He wasn't the only one. Okay, he wasn't the only one. In our situation, we had a chaplain at Tougaloo, very much a part of us. One of the chaplains, Ed King, you might have heard of him, came. I think he got the idea out of when he worked in Atlanta, Georgia. But anyway, he came to Tougaloo as a chaplain, and he brought with him the idea of church integration. If every Sunday morning the pastors and the priests and all the white churches in Jackson would go out and preach about brotherhood and so forth, so we had to find out if they really meant what they said. Not only that, we wanted to open up those white churches because we were not allowed in those churches. Okay, we were not allowed in those churches. So what would happen is we get up on Sunday morning and put on our one suit and our one tie, and get in the car and going down to Jackson to some big church, and asked to worship with them that Sunday. And many times we were arrested right there on the steps. Interesting thing about the church integration project was the most interesting was the Methodist churches.
Okay.
The Methodist churches were segregated in the South, integrated in the North. Okay, same denomination. We would go to the church in Jackson, Capitol Street Methodist Church, big church, huge church. We go there, and many of us would get arrested there. What happened was, Methodist ministers from the North start coming down on weekend and going to churches with us and getting arrested with us. And that was quite embarrassing to the Methodist denomination, arresting their own pastors, okay, not allowing them to attend service. You know, that was very, as I said, embarrassing to them. So because of that, the Methodist Church was the first church that opened up to blacks, and that was because of Tougaloo students.
That's amazing. This Reverend Ed King, he was a white man. He was a white man, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Before I get too far, like Mega's speaking style, how would you describe his speaking style? Was it like a Malcolm or Martin?
No, not too much. It was mostly he would talk to his people.
Okay.
You know, he would talk to his people. He had a few speeches, but they wasn't, you know, the king type speeches.
But his strength was organizing.
Oh yeah,
and recruiting,
oh,
which is very, to me,
yes,
more important than a lot of times.
More important.
Right.
Because he was out there. You see, that's what made him so endearing, especially to civil rights workers and organizers, was he was out there.
Right.
He didn't just talk the stuff and go back to the office. Okay, he was out there. Many times he was out there with you, showing you how to do things, how he did things. You know, so.
I'm trying to understand his mindset, because people don't even understand that Meg was only 37 when he got killed.
Yeah.
Had a young family, had a wife.
17 days before his birthday.
Right. And like, I'm trying to figure out, people's like, right now, people, I mean, y'all were young people too. Now you look back on it years later, you said, man, you think y'all was crazy for doing some things y'all was doing? Y'all understand what y'all were doing at the time, the implications? I know you said Megan told y'all it was under the dock and stuff. Y'all understand the implications of the danger. As
I spoke to you earlier, I mentioned that I was going down to a Mississippi Civil Rights Veterans Conference. When we first started that conference down there, for I'd say 5 or 6 years. Now you have to remember, a lot of people, let's say in Tougaloo students, there were not at the beginning. There were not a lot of Tougaloo students involved. I would say maybe 20 at the most of the whole campus. And there was a reason for that, because most of their parents had state government type jobs. State, federal, county, whatever. Okay, we understood that too. We didn't hold that against the students at all. We knew that because some of us were able to be out there without that pressure. So, but Megger was a man that, like I said, he was low key. He talked to his people, and I don't know. He was a brave guy, greatest guy I've ever known. Yeah.
Because I know people said, he led the economic boycott in Jackson, and still they haven't recovered from it to a large degree from that era of what happened back in the '60s and why they had to get rid of them.
Yeah. That boycott, I'm not sure the exact year, but it's Easter Sunday. Was promoted and carried out mostly by young people in Jackson. I can remember, I had an aunt who lived in Jackson all the time also. And what I would do sometime on the weekend, if we were going to have an event on Saturdays, I may leave school and go and spend the night with her and get out in the street and so forth. So it was we went out to houses, we canvassed all over the city of Jackson, telling people not to buy there, not to buy there. Now there were a few instances where people said the students were kind of harassing the people that did buy.
Right.
But I didn't see that, so I really can't speak to it. But and that boycott was very successful, very successful. Yes, sir. And we did it in such a fashion. We didn't do boycotts arbitrarily. We did our homework. That was part of our job. Find out as much as we could. Kreskis, for instance. I don't know. That used to be an old, what was it, 5 and dime store or something? Something like that. Kreskis.
Okay.
Okay, it's so long ago I can't recall.
Woolworths or
Yeah, that type of store. So what happened was we'd go in and find out how many blacks were there. Most, and wasn't none. I mean, you know, and especially we trying to get blacks hired on there. So like I say, we didn't do it arbitrarily. We did our homework. We knew as much about the company as we possibly could. But the main thing was we were boycotted and participated in protests for a particular reason. We wanted something, okay? We wanted to hire a black. We had an objective. We wasn't out there just protesting, folks, okay? We wanted people hired in those stores. We wanted black managers in those stores, and we let that be known from the very beginning. Some of the protests I see now, I have reservations about because I don't see a clear purpose. I don't see a clear objective. Okay, maybe I'm missing something, but I don't see it. But back then, we had that, and we had that. Many times we were successful. May have taken us a while to do it, but we did it. Yeah.
I saw I know you said you started Tougaloo in 58, correct?
Yeah.
You need I don't know, guys. You need water or anything like that?
No, I had the pneumonia a month ago.
Yeah, this weather's crazy.
And it's kind of just sitting there, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, I'm making sure. I want to ask you this. 'Cause I think it's fascinating because you're from Mississippi and you was of that age.
Yeah.
Where was you? Can you remember where you was at when you heard about Emmett Till?
Yeah. We were the same age. I was in high school. I was in high school, and I can remember vividly the look on the young black male's face during that time, my age group. Very sad, because we knew that if it happened to him, it could happen to any one of us. You know, we felt that, and it was just a horrifying thing. It was horrifying. Yeah.
Well, you know, in cases of now we know Revelation time, like decades later, Carolyn Bryant, the woman who accused Emmett Till of making these advances,
I heard something.
she lied about the whole thing. She confessed to this historian, the author, that she lied about the whole thing. What is your take on that?
Why did it take us so long? Why did it take us so long? That's difficult. It's just hard to see. It's hard to see. But certain things like that was happening all the time. You take a young man by the name of Lamar Smith, killed right there in Brookhaven on the courthouse lawn. At least 12 individuals witnessed. 3 individuals who were involved in the killing. One walked away covered in blood. No one has been convicted as of today.
And this happened like during the daytime.
Right in the mid-evening.
On courthouse. 2
o'clock in the
law
afternoon.
enforcement officials, everything.
Yeah. You know, why that? You know, it's something you can hardly believe took place. You know, and he's not the only one. Reverend Lee, you heard him.
Yeah.
A lot of them. You know, look at the 2 boys they picked up there.
Hezekiah. They were looking for the 3 civil rights workers and found 8 remains.
Went there, man. I'm telling you, I went there where they were picked up a couple of years, 2 or 3 years ago, and it's just amazing how you feel you go there and stand up.
But then the white folks lied about the dude being dead.
Yeah.
The SEAL guy, James Ford SEAL, I believe. They lied for him. They hid it. They protected him.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But so what does it say about, the mentality of these people?
Yeah.
But also, I want to ask you about, do you recall the Willie McGee case?
I heard of Willie McGee case.
Mm-hmm.
Now you may have to refresh me on
He
that.
was a guy that was accused of raping a white woman, and they put him to death for allegedly raping a white woman down in Laurel, Mississippi.
Laura?
Yeah, he's from Laurel, Mississippi.
Okay.
And they accused him of raping this white woman.
Mm-hmm.
And from my understanding, it was a consensual relationship. He said to the end, to his last day, it was consensual.
Mm-hmm.
And then he just got caught. And even I talked to some white folks from that town doing a book signing. A white author from Jackson, Mississippi wrote a book about The Eyes of Willie McGee that came out several years ago.
Yes.
And I met a white woman from Laurel. She said, we all knew they were sleeping around, but it was taboo.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody knew, even Charles Evans said, we thought some white girls. You know what I said? But y'all getting lynched? Yeah, we was doing it. But I'm saying, this is like a taboo. You hear like a lot of black men being lynched, having consensual relationships with white women. So why is this never talked about? And then you start doing the research, 90% of the people that were lynched were business owners or business people.
Okay.
So this was about keeping black folks in their places. Like Ivy Wells, she discovered that, while she was in Memphis, we just had the 125th anniversary of the People grocery lynching. These 3 black successful men ran a grocery store in South Memphis called the People's Grocery.
Okay.
Back in March of 1892, this white man who was a competitor, he was jealous of the fact that they was attracting not only the business of black people, but also of white people. So he organized a white mob that was deputized by the law to attack the store. And in self-defense, they fought back. They had their gun association, and they started to injure some white folks who were deputized police. So they turned themselves in, and they were lynched.
Yeah.
This will be a successful black businessman, and this will galvanize Ivy Wells into doing what she did. But she discovered in her research that a lot of these black people were being lynched for economic and political reasons. It's like a lot of our leaders get taken out when they start dealing with economics, whether it be Medgar Evers or Dr. King, about the economics of the situation, about redistributing the wealth. But I'm just going on too far fast. But let me ask you about this, and I'll get back on track. I'm sorry about that. Eddie Knoll. Have you heard about Eddie Knoll from Holmes County?
Eddie Knoll. No.
Now this is why they probably had to kill Emmett Till. This happened back in the early January 1954. New Year's, the first weekend of New Year's in 1954.
Okay.
This light-skinned short dude named Eddie Knoll.
Okay.
He went to a speakeasy where his not speakeasy, but we call it juke joint.
Yeah.
Where his wife worked at as a maid, whatever, as a servant. Was owned by a white man. This white man, everybody knew he was sleeping with his wife.
Okay.
Right, and this guy, he was a crack shot. He could have been like a sniper in World War II. He was a veteran from World War II. But the guy was a crack shot with a gun. He was a sniper, basically a sniper. So the dude approached the guy who was messing with his wife, basically tried to get his wife to come back home.
Yeah.
And the white man who was sleeping with his wife on the juke joint intervened. And so the white man was, threatening his life. So in self-defense, he shot the white man.
Yeah.
And then he also shot the sheriff deputy.
Okay.
Then he shot another white man. Then one of the largest manhunts in Mississippi, over 1,000 white men in the dead of winter, and doing an ice storm looking for this black man.
Yeah.
But it was white and black folks hiding him that knew about the backstory.
Yeah.
And the only reason he didn't get the chair, now it took him to Whitfield. They was doing a bobby on him. They were doing shock therapy on him. He never had a trial. He never went to jail like that. He never stood trial because his name said Eddie Knoll. He's named after one of his relatives, Edmund Knoll, who was the governor of Mississippi. So the white part of his family intervened for him getting killed in the chair. And he lived to be an old man. He died in 1994 in Indiana. You never heard about that story?
I feel sorry and embarrassed about that because I never.
I didn't know there was a white dude from Holmes County who lives in Oxford that wrote about that.
Okay.
And I found it in a book bin several years ago doing a bookstore closing. And I always tell people, you don't choose these books. The books choose you.
Well, that's true.
Yeah, but I think they killed them because of that. Because what happened in Holmes County, it doesn't talk about, because they happened in January 54, and then you got August 55.
Right.
With Emmett Till and the Willie McGee thing. And then it's a case, I'm gonna shut up. Robert Lee Goldsby.
Okay.
You remember that case?
I heard of him.
No, he was invading Mississippi on his way to, I believe, New Orleans from St. Louis, but he had, family in Mississippi, from Mississippi. He was trying to get gas at his white-owned gas station in Baden or whatever. What we call Baden or Baden?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? Baden. Right. He was trying to get some gas there when the owner of the gas station, white man, threatened him, and I guess he had to reach for his gun. I think Robert Lee Goldsby shot back in self-defense while he was fleeing. He ended up killing the wife.
Yeah.
So they took him to jail, and he had so many trials and mistrials, whatever, and they finally put him to death.
Okay.
But I think that led to the lynching of Charles Mack Parker in '59, April of 1959, because of what happened with the Robert Lee Goldsby case. So there's all these different cases going on with Willie McGee, the Edmund Knoll situation, Robert Lee Goldsby, Charles Mack Parker, and Emmett Till.
Well,
I mean, you grew up in that time. You survived.
yeah.
You survived.
Parker didn't.
Nah, he didn't survive. No, it was horrible.
Yeah.
To read what they did. They basically went into jail. It's like with I.B. Wells' friends, they went into the jail.
Yes.
They said they kidnapped. No, they didn't kidnap, they opened up the jail. Just like they did with Charles Mack Parker. And the FBI knew all the people that did it with the Charles Mack Parker case.
Yes.
But never tried anybody.
Right.
They knew everybody, even law enforcement was involved.
I don't go along with some of their reckoning about those trials because one of the reasons they say that they seldom brought those cases to trial because they knew that they were not going to convict them. Okay? No jury, no white jury. Black couldn't be on the jury.
Right.
No white jury was going to convict them. But I always felt that they should have proceeded so it could be out there on the record. You know, what good that would do, I have no idea. But that was just my thinking of it. Mac Charles Parker was the same way you're talking about the other gentleman.
Willie McGee, yeah.
Consensual white relationship with her. And they didn't agree with that, so like you say, they went in the jail and got him out and killed him. Yeah.
So this is what you dealing with in your Mississippi. This is what you were growing up with as a black man.
Yeah.
As a black male.
Yeah. It was the martyrs that we called them. There was many of them, and so those were some of the cases. The Lamar Smith one really stuck with me because it was only 30 miles from my house.
So how your folks deal with this? Like, what type of people were your people? Like your father and mother?
My dad was a logger. First of all, you have to understand, this is brought out in the book quite a bit. I was raised by my aunt and uncle, who I call my mother and father. My aunt that raised me, my dad, her brother was my father. Okay? And my biological mother and father died when I was very young. And they raised me up. Their last name was Barnes, Barnes. In fact, that's one of the reasons I was able to operate as an organizer in Mississippi as long as I did because of the difference in names. But my dad was a logger, and my mother was a housewife. We did well. My dad had several log trucks, and he would go out. He had 4 brothers in the business with him.
Cool.
He had the logging part. He had another brother that dealt with pulpwood, cutting and selling that stuff. They go out and buy tracts of timber, okay, and hire blacks in the community to cut and process that timber, take it to the mill and so forth, and sell it. And then when they finished, in many cases they bought the land. They had to buy the land too, but when they finished, they sold the land back. So I didn't need too much that I didn't have, and I have to say that. But my mother and my involvement with the civil rights movement, how they felt about that, my mom was like any mother who was afraid for her child, okay, being out there. She would just say, I'm afraid something is going to happen to you. But she told that to her friends and family and so forth. She'd tell that to me. Right. She never mentioned to me that she was afraid for me to be out there. Now, she would just say to me, well, you do what you think you have to do in that regard. My dad would say, well, they just going to kill you, boy. That's just the end of it, And so that was in his conversation.
So they didn't intervene, though. They allow you to be.
Oh, yeah.
That's beautiful, though. That's amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
And so, in a sense, Dad was supporting me, too, in ways that I didn't even know. Dad had, to my amazement, Dad had a white friend in the nearby town. White friend, I knew the guy used to come by sometime. They sit out and drink coffee and stuff on it.
This is Mississippi where we all segregated, right? You know, I mean, got this idea about the South.
Yeah, and he had this black friend that he talked to. Now, this white friend, I'm sorry, this white friend had a business. The Klan used to meet at his business in the afternoons and nights sometimes. Now, he was privy to all of their, in fact, he might have even been a Klanman. He was privy to all of their inner workings in the county, okay? And he would come back and let my dad know what they were talking about, if it affected the black community in any way, okay? So, his last name was Barnes. Now, my dad, I used to go to school, my dad had a pickup truck also. Sometimes I take the pickup truck and go to Tulu, and I don't know why, if I had something to do on a Friday or something like that, and I need the truck, you know, for transportation, I get Dad's pickup truck and go. It was only 60 miles from home, Tulu. But anyway, so one day he came to my dad and he told him, let me tell you this first. One Friday I was coming back from Tulu. I stopped at the not gas station, stopped at, it was a gas station. And that's what it was. The establishment I was telling you about, the white man on, it was a gas station. And there was a bunch of white guys in there sitting around. And I had to get some gas for Dad's truck when I brought it back home, you know. And so, one of the, also working at that station was a cousin of mine, a black guy. Okay, he was sitting in there kind of off to himself. And so when I walked in and paid for the gas, he said, well, I heard you had a little trouble up there yesterday. Got beat up on the steps there on this courthouse. And I said, no, that wasn't me. That was Thomas Armstrong, the photographer. There was a famous photographer in Jackson with the same name, Thomas Armstrong. We played off each other. When something to our advantage.
Was he a black photographer?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'd say it was him. And he in turn would say it was me, you know, when it became necessary to do so. So I said, no, that wasn't me. That was this photographer that got beat up there. And so a few days later, the white guy came to Dad's and he told my dad that they know who he is now, so you should get him out of town right away. That's when I decided to leave, because I knew that Dad knew and could trust this white guy.
But this white guy, his last name was Barnes?
No.
Okay.
We still have not revealed his real name.
So y'all just for protection reason for him, or?
Not only for protection from him, but because of we don't know the reaction of his offspring, so we decided to let it alone.
That's fascinating. So it's interesting that a black businessman could be friends with a white businessman, have a real relationship in terms of like, you know, personal relationship.
Absolutely.
In the Jim Crow era South.
Yeah.
Where they were lynching black folks
Lynching
without
black
court trials.
You wouldn't believe it. And not only that, you want to look at some oddities. 4 parents. My grandmother, his great-grandmother, great-grandmother, was considered to be a white woman.
That's right.
And she married a black guy. Okay? In Jefferson Davis County, Mississippi.
So that's Free State of Jones stuff, huh? Free State of Jones type of stuff going on.
They attempted to lynch him twice.
Really?
Yeah, because they thought she was white.
Was she white?
Some records say so. Some say
but she claimed, okay, but she wanted to be black. She said to being black. So.
Yeah.
Okay, mulatto, but she just like, if I see a picture of her, like she's like a white woman.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And so that's, like I say, that's kind of hard to believe in that age and time. Her parents were white. I'm sorry. Her father was white. Very successful business owner in nearby town Monticello, Mississippi. Yes. Her mother was some records say she was white, some records say she was mulatto also.
Right.
Okay, so we really don't know. We have a hand painting of her mother. They
That's right,
look
you can't tell, right?
No. Yeah.
But like, of course, the black men that get lynched, so that's why we having this conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
They tried. What happened? How was it stopped? Like,
She stopped.
she stopped it.
Yeah. She convinced them that she was black in some way and not white.
This is why I said this is better than Hollywood fiction.
Yeah.
This,
I don't know.
this book right here. This is better than Hollywood fiction. This is our story.
I don't know
Can't
how
make
she
this
did
up.
it, but she did it. That's an old family story. All the aunts, great grandmom, all of them passed on down to us.
So let me ask you this, because I think it's so important as black people. Has this been like translated from oral to documented, like in a book form or interviews? That people talk to the elders and got this information down on paper?
No. We had enough on our hands trying to stay alive, mostly. Even in the civil rights movement, when I say early, I shouldn't say early, consider ourselves as early civil rights workers, but Tougaloo student era. Most of us at Tougaloo, you won't find records, you won't find pictures, you won't find the pictures, the Jim Hill students, Lanier students, many of those students, high school students, were out there in the streets during the civil rights movement. You won't find the records of them because they were not interested in the camera. Okay, they were interested in what they were trying to do, and you don't find too.
But the media did aid in the cause, right? Like the cover in the media, like Dr. King and everybody did want media coverage. That would help the cause, right? To get exposure in the media.
No, not in Mississippi.
Okay,
not in Mississippi. Once King began organizing and set up the SCLC and all of those groups, we were not concerned about the media. Okay, we didn't care about the media. Most of the time they were going to lie anyway. And so we knew that too. We didn't do anything for the camera. Okay, we didn't do anything for the cameras. We didn't care if they were there or not. Only thing we did, there may have been a little suspect to individual was we did let authority know when we were doing something. Okay, now some people say we shouldn't be doing that, but we didn't want to get in a position where the authorities did not know. We didn't want them to give them an excuse to saying we could have protected them had they let us know.
But do you understand what you understand at the time the Mississippi Sovereignty Commission, the White Citizen Council?
Yeah.
And I actually I think it's I'm glad you brought it up when we talked about this off camera. I spoke with Diane Nash, one of the leaders of the movement, and she was talking about how she didn't realize, like every time she would tell the FBI what they was doing, or the Department of Justice. Now we realize a decade later what they was actually doing with COINTELPRO, the counterintelligence program, and some of the other stuff. So y'all didn't really overstood. Y'all didn't understand what was going on at the same time that these so-called law enforcement people was actually undermining y'all civil and human liberties.
Oh, they were always doing it. One of the things that I did was to go to small towns and meet freedom riders that were coming into those towns and get them out to safety. And one of the first things when I arrived in a small town was trying to meet with the chief of police. Okay, and let him know, that they were coming in, and to ask for his protection of those freedom riders when they came in. Not only them, but us too, because most of the time, all the time, it was at least two of us, so they never agreed to protect any of them. But I'm just saying, we always let them know what we were doing. And he used that information to his advantage, whatever that might be. Yeah. And of course he coordinated it with the Sovereignty Commission, and they passed the word throughout their circle of chief of police in each county. So Yeah, I'm saying you're right in a sense. Yeah.
Do y'all understood that y'all had black spies among y'all working for the
Yes.
establishment?
Yeah.
It was so people were aware that it possible. What about wiretapping?
We didn't really care.
Okay.
We had spies right there on Tougaloo campus.
They were acting like students or
Both.
administrators. and
Both.
stuff? Okay.
Both.
Mhm.
Both. Yes. We had spy. One of the, in fact, the religion professor was a spy
Wow.
for the sovereign, being paid by the Sovereignty Commission. So yeah, we had spies right on campus. Right on campus.
And also, people gotta understand too. Yeah, you know, the FBI, they was able to find the 3 civil rights workers surrounding Cheney and Goodman, but they also had FBI that infiltrated the Klan, or the Klan infiltrated the FBI or something. I don't know. I gotta get confused.
Both. You're right. Both.
What do you think about all this collusion, all this stuff, like these, people doing the fact that you had FBI that was in the planet with the Klan, embedded with the Klan, violating people's civil and human rights? Or you had people that you paying taxes for, like your family were paying taxes to a government that was undermining the ability of their children to express themselves, freedom of speech.
Yeah, I don't want to say same, but similar situation. Here you got J. Edgar Hoover over there, and his philosophies, and you got Donald Trump over here and his philosophies, and that passes down to the crackpots down.
Right, y'all well know. Right.
Down here, you know, and so Hoover he would not allow the FBI to protect us. See, that's
Well, I did. I heard this because a sister from D.C. that wrote a book and did a documentary about J. Edgar Hoover passing. And he had some Hoovers down in Macomb, Mississippi. She's from Macomb, Mississippi, I believe. And he said, he told the black Hoovers down in Macomb, you ever tell anybody that I'm passing, I kill all of y'all.
Yeah.
You think that's true? You think J. Edgar Hoover was passing?
Yeah.
No, the old timers would say. They say he was
Oh,
passing.
absolutely. Yeah, they would. That was a common story.
Well, that makes sense how much he hated black. It was self-hatred then.
Yeah.
A lot of what he was doing.
Yeah.
You didn't hear about it? It's online. I mean, yeah. Sister wrote a book about it. It traumatized me. It's from Macomb, Mississippi. It's like a lot of black Hoovers down in Macomb, Mississippi. And she wrote a book about it.
Oh, this is it's paying something.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's documentary on YouTube. That's why it's so important when we talk about people.
Macomb, interesting you brought that up. Within a 32-day period in Macomb, we were doing organizing there. There were 16 bummings in Macomb.
16 bummings?
Yeah, we call it the bumming capital of the United States.
Wow. 16 bummings, how many days?
32.
This is not overseas, this is America.
This is Macomb, Mississippi.
Macomb, Mississippi.
You down there trying to organize to get people to register and vote.
Wow.
And people telling you, hey, wait a minute. John Doe's shop just got blown up last night. Hold on just a little longer. You got to keep fighting.
All this is to register to vote.
Yeah.
So you have black folks on juries.
Yeah.
So they have people to be judged by your peers. They're doing all this.
Yeah.
This is the white establishment.
Yes.
Wow. Now, I'm asking you this, well, Mississippi is fascinating. You said your father was a business owner, correct?
Yeah.
And I look at the movement in Mississippi, like when they try to talk about the Mississippi freedom movement, Hollywood, I always try to think it was white college students from the South, but it was black business owners that actually was the spearhead, the vanguard of the movement. Because I recall reading a book about Dr. T.I.M. Howard from Mound Bayou and the Regional Council of Negro Leadership. And there were a lot of black business owners that were involved in the movement, correct?
I think you're talking about a couple of different things. You're talking about the white people that's coming down. That was basically in summer of '64.
Right.
They came down to assist us and voter assist them. I just left and assist them in voter registration in Mississippi at that time, which was a good thing. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
This is a very good thing. But here again, what? 2, 3, 6 weeks, 6 months, what happened? They all gone back home.
Right.
Okay, and the blacks there have to still face those trials and tribulation. That was the difference. People, and not only that, it's the difference between in the outlook of people like my age who I consider starting a little early in the civil rights movement. I started a few years early, than most of my counterparts.
Right.
Okay, and there's a difference. You can see a difference in the feeling between the people who started during my time when I started, and the people who started, let's say, even 3 years later. Okay, in the movement, because they were not doing the same thing that we were doing. They didn't have the same experiences that we had.
Yes, sir.
You know, and we got our courage, I would say, from the veterans of World War II. Those guys went off over there and fought in the German arena, and Asian arena, came back home and passed that courage back to the people in the community. We had two of those in our black community. We had Tony, A.B. Tony, and Hooker, A.B. Hooker, Albert Hooker, who went out in the Battle of the Bulge. A.B. Tony fought in 6 major battles. Hooker fought in 5 major battles during them and survived. Able to survive. Came back to Mississippi and can't even vote.
Also, Medgar Evers, he was a Red Ball Express D-Day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Aaron
Henry.
Yeah, all World War II veterans.
You see what I mean?
Like the Montgomery Bus Boycott,
Yeah.
Korean War, World War II veterans.
You know?
Leading the way.
Yeah. It was because of the courage that those guys had come back and instilled in us and say, you know, don't stop, keep going, keep pushing. You know? That's why.
So it wasn't all about let me ask you,
Yeah.
the non-violent stuff, please help us understand. Was it supposed to be like a way of life, or was this a strategy? Was it reasonable for you to be non-violent when they violating your grandma or your wife and stuff like that, or your children?
Let me tell you something. There's two trends of thought.
Okay.
Non-violent.
Okay.
Summer of '64. People came down. Non-violent. Had to be trained in non-violent. So we trained. They trained them in non-violent, and it was a tactic for them. For black folks living in, I got a cousin now who are different with me, who were different, the same one you saw this morning, who were different with me. He said, I wouldn't have took it, man. I wouldn't have took it. I said, well, fine.
He's from Mississippi or he's from Chicago?
Yeah, he's from Mississippi. I said, okay, fine. You just been dead. As simple as that, you know. So nonviolence to most of the young at that time, okay, was a way of life. Had to be a way of life. You wouldn't survive if it wasn't.
What about self-defense though? Like Medgar Evers kept guns with him, right? He kept guns in the car.
We all kept guns.
Right, but what is self-defense valid though?
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes you can't, if your life is on line.
Yeah.
I mean, like you could be non-violent till they do something to you.
That was up to you.
Okay.
That was up to you.
I'm just
There are
curious.
some people who CT Vivian
Right. Yeah, I like
might tell you non-violence at all costs, no matter what. You see,
Okay.
I didn't believe that. You know, I remember an incident. My dad and I slept outside at night. One night, we expected the Klan to come, and the only thing my dad say, my mom was in the house. Only thing my dad said, well, if they come in the yard, don't let them leave. You know, simply as
So
that.
understood, right?
Yeah. And I was 12 and a half years old, and I didn't understand that too well, but I was a crack shot too. You know?
You know what's interesting? I'm glad I'm talking to you about this because people don't understand. Dr. King, he had armed bodyguards around.
Yeah.
I mean, Charles Evans. I thought Charles Evans some months ago. He said, Dr. King, he's coming. He should run to his house. He said he didn't walk. He ran to the house in Jackson. And we kept all the guns and goons. He said, I love God, guns, and goons. That's what Charles Evans told me. And Dr. King said, he paraphrased, I feel safe around you, Charles. You got all the goons here, the guns.
Yeah.
You know, but even in Memphis, we used to come to Memphis, he had an all-black police security detail. When they killed Dr. King, he had no type of protection.
Yeah.
March against fear, niggas for defense from Bogalusa, Louisiana.
Yeah.
He always, when that black woman stabbed him and almost killed him hard, she died on the 59th person weekend of Selma, up in Queens. Curry, she almost 100 years old. But I'm saying he always had protection around him.
Yeah.
The day he don't have protection, they when they kill him. Same thing with Malcolm.
Interested in him.
Right. So what I'm saying, like the non-violence thing.
The shots that killed Malcolm, was it going up or down?
That's what Dick said, going down.
They ain't going down.
You know, and I talked to people that was there.
Yeah.
I talked to some of the shit. They said Norman Malcolm held 3 dozen police around his speeches and rallies in Ottawa. He had no police around that day. They all came after the fact.
Yeah.
And somebody said they saw one of the gunmen who was a well-respected politician, organizer in Newark. He was at the police precinct taking a smoke break. And he said he about to tell him, and he said, I walked out when I saw that. I said, I didn't see shit. You know, there was a white dude who told me that.
Yeah.
And then here's the thing, Michael's chief bodyguard was police, NYPD. Eugene Roberts was his chief bodyguard, the one who tried to perform CPR.
Yeah.
We had him holes in his chest, which is kind of weird.
Yeah.
You know, but he was the one that set up Tupac Mama in the Pepper 21. Eugene Roberts, boss program, NYPD, counterintelligence. Nation of Islam, John Ali, the personal secretary for Elijah Muhammad, national secretary, was FBI. He was responsible for correspondence between Malcolm and Elijah Muhammad.
Yeah.
Nation of Islam always been compromised with police.
Yeah.
Even Farrakhan's son is a police officer. I'm just saying. So this is weird. Cause you have, I'm sorry. I'm just like, it's just
you
weird
can't
to me.
help it, you
Right,
know?
I don't mean it. I just like, it's just disturbing.
Yeah.
Like even Thurgood Marshall is disturbing to me. He would talk to J. Edgar Hoover, was the informant for J. Edgar Hoover, and he would tell police chiefs around the country, say, no, Nation of Islam folks no good, Dr. King's no good, attack them. Thurgood Marshall was in collusion with these people.
That's what I hear.
You know, it's documented. He won 29 out of 32 Supreme Court cases as a lawyer. He was brilliant, but he wanted to rise up in the ranks of federal government, and so he did what he had to do.
Yeah.
But we got to deal with this reality. It's like a cognitive dissonance to me.
Yeah.
It's like the duality that Du Bois speak about. You gotta be schizophrenic to be black.
Yeah.
You know, you keep on, you don't know when to act and not to act. Look at Dr. Ben Carson. But I mean, let me just go back. Okay, let's go back to the Freedom Rider stuff. And tell me about that. I'm sorry for you. I'm just like, this is crazy, man. This Freedom Rider stuff. I'm sorry. This is insane. This is insane.
Fandu Heyman said, you gotta be crazy.
You
insane. Gotta be insane.
And they sterilized her against her will. She wanted kids. The doctor sterilized her.
Yeah.
You had 21 states sterilizing people against their will.
Yeah.
More than that. And they doing it still in California prisons. J. Barry Sims, that evil mad scientist. He got a statue in Central Park. He's the father of gynecology, but what he was doing? He was experimenting on black women without anesthesia, wrecking their wombs and vaginas, and putting metal rods to black baby heads. They say he's a medical genius. He's the father of gynecology.
Yeah.
These people are insane. Why would we want people like that? Why do we want to integrate?
Right.
I really don't know. Why are we integrating with that type of wickedness?
But by the same token, that's why you talk about civil rights, you can't say nothing without bringing up a whole lot a different subject.
Right. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm gonna let you speak. I won't let you speak on it though.
Yeah. And see, which way you want me to go?
It's just so it's an unfinished business. Like I want to ask you this, then. You talk about the the marching, like the Black Lives Matter, it's like that. You don't really know what their agenda is. My concern is, like, you look at Dr. King, April 4th is coming up. The fact that he spent majority of his life trying to raise money, never had enough money to do anything.
Right.
Yeah, you got to tell the two Black Lives Matter movements. You got one that's been financed by the white liberal establishment.
Yeah.
It's been well known that George Soros, the billionaire, gave almost $40 million to the Ferguson movement, which birthed the Black Lives Matter movement. And how was it for y'all in terms of funding and financing? Were y'all able to get the resources that y'all needed to do the job?
No, we were not. Not enough.
Okay.
If it hadn't been for who? Harry Belafonte, Dick Gregory, Sidney Poitier, all those friends of all those guys, we've been in trouble. We've been in trouble. They helped finance the civil rights. I can only talk to what I know about Mississippi civil rights movement, SNCC and so forth in Mississippi, Corps and so forth. Yeah, they were funders for us. Yeah, a lot of black entertainers came to Mississippi. People don't know about them. A whole lot of them came. Joan Baez, you had the Frank Sinatra and his group. All those guys came down, and just a lot of entertainers came down to Tougaloo and gave concerts and things at Tougaloo. Most of you guys that were in the movement in Tougaloo as students at that time, really didn't even get a chance to enjoy a lot of those concerts because we were outside patrolling the perimeter of the school and keep the white folks out. So, so we never had enough funding. As far as the Freedom Riders go, Freedom Riders came in, as you know, from DC on 2 buses. One bus through Birmingham, one bus to Anderson, Alabama. They were beating up over here in Birmingham, Anderson, Alabama. They firebombed that bus, and Freedom Riders barely got out of line. We were watching that. They took it as students. A dormitory room. Everybody was glued to the TVs and so forth there. Now, the problem was Freedom Riders started way before that. Irene Morgan, back in 1944, decided that she was tired of riding on the back of the bus. She worked in Virginia. She worked in Maryland and lived in Virginia, and so she rode the bus every day, back and forth to work. So one day she sat in the front. The bus driver told her to go to the back, make sure. Go to the back. She went. She decided, no, I'm not going to do it. He called the police. They arrested her. NAACP heard about her case, took her case, took it all the way to the Supreme Court, and she won. Supreme Court saying it's unconstitutional to have segregation on interstate commerce facilities, buses, plane, train stations, bus owned by, controlled by ICC, Interstate Commerce Commission. South said, we don't care. We're going to maintain our custom. We don't care what the Supreme Court said. A guy named James Farmer, a student in Chicago University, and his friend, James Peck, a white guy, in 1946. Irene won that case in 1946. In 1947, James Farmer and James Peck say, look, South is not living up to the Supreme Court's edict, so let's perform or create a journey of reconciliation. They rode through the upper north. They were arrested in Carolinas, thrown on a chain gang. Farmer said it was too dangerous. He called it off. 14 years later, 1961, he and Peck, his friend, decided to do it again. This time going down through the lower south. Okay? Alabama, Georgia, Mississippi, going to end up in New Orleans. Okay? We were watching all that stuff. When they left, now when they got to Anderson, he told them that it was too dangerous. Students at Fifth, Diane's group, all those college students decided we can't let it stop, so we got to continue on. Still got to get to New Orleans. So they got buses in Anderson and Birmingham, came into Jackson. And when they got to Jackson, they were marched right out the bus, inside the waiting room, right out the next door, into the paddy wagon. Okay? Now, 2 days before that, Ross Barnett was on TV saying, all my niggers are satisfied in Mississippi. They just happy.
Go to Mississippi on TV.
And they all happy. These all outside agitators coming in here doing all this crap. Made us mad. Say, what do you mean? You know? And so we decided that, hey, we got to do something. You know, to let people know that he's not right. So two individuals out of the whole 350 some students at that time, 2 people volunteered to become a Freedom Rider. What happened is 2 days after the Freedom Riders came in Jackson, 2 of them were released. James Bevel, King Lieutenant, Bernard Lafayette. They came to Tougaloo College recruiting people to continue to ride to Jackson. To New Orleans. Only 2 people out of the student body agreed to go. One of those 2 guys, myself and another guy, he backed out at the last minute. At the end of the meeting, he agreed at the first. When it was over, he changed his mind. It was another college classmate of mine, Mary Harrison, stepped in. She said, I'll go. And 2 of us and 2 people a brother and a sister from a nearby town of Raymond, Mississippi. All four of us got down and went down to the Trailway bus station. We were transported down there by the Mississippi mother of the civil rights, the mother of the Mississippi civil rights movement, Miss A.M.E. Logan. Okay, Miss Logan, oh man, great woman. A whole story about it. But anyway, she put us off half block from the station. We walked in, we had tickets. And we walked in and sat down, and about 4 minutes after we sat down there, the chief of police came, James Ray came in.
Wow.
And he said, you guys gotta leave here. We said, why? We got tickets, we're planning to go to New Orleans. And he said, no, you can't do that. You gotta leave, you're disturbing the peace. We say, we haven't talked to anybody. You know, somebody misinformed you because we haven't talked to anybody. So we just came in and sat down. They don't make any difference. You got to get up and get out of here. Now, what happened was, actually, he wouldn't let us on the bus, period. And took us all to jail. Took us, and so we spent the night being interrogated that night and the next day. And then that was the city jail, Jackson City Jail. Transferred us to the county jail. Same thing, process, first couple of days of interrogation. Why are you here? Are you a communist? Who sent you? Who paid you? And all that kind of stuff. For 2 days on all that stuff. We were lucky. Mary Harrison, my schoolmate, and I, the president, after about 4 or 5 days, the president of the college came in and bonded us out. We had planned to stay 39 days. 39 days was the maximum amount you could stay without getting bail, unless you went on to Parchman. Okay, so we had planned to stay the max, but the civil rights organization hadn't worked out. This is the beginning of the jail no bail thing. I was the 7th participant who had a trial, Freedom Rider. It took all 7 of those trials at the beginning for the civil rights lawyers to iron out what route they were going to take. They dictated how we pled. Okay. I don't know all the details, but some they told, when they started off, plead guilty. Some they told to plead not guilty. Some they told to plead nolo contender. And some other, I don't know, technical language they had. They were trying to figure out what the sentencing was going to be.
So you trying to tell me y'all want to put y'all lives in their hands?
Yeah.
Then what your parents' response to that? What was like?
No. Well, they didn't have anything to do with it. You know, we didn't want to involve dad and mom.
Because they would have easily, I'm sure they got you out of jail.
Yeah. But so they were trying. The lawyer was trying to work that out. Then when they found out, the old crazy jury, it didn't matter what you plead. Okay,
right.
So they're gonna still throw you in there. I think the sentence was $200 and 4 months in jail.
Wow.
That was the sentence, and they did that no matter what you put, nolo contender, guilty or not guilty.
Wow.
Okay, so it didn't matter. So and then the lawyer was the one that facilitated that jail no bail thing. Okay.
Let me ask you this, like, y'all got, see what I'm saying? This is phenomenon known as post-traumatic slavery disorder. Have you heard of this? Like
post-traumatic syndrome.
Yeah, post-traumatic, but they call it post-traumatic.
They call it a whole lot.
Yeah, but we deal with the trauma. But this is like new trauma. You live in this trauma. Then
we call ourselves the walking wounded.
Right, but then you dealing with ancestral memory.
Yeah.
You gotta deal with the trauma from the ancestors too.
Yeah.
So that's compelling. It's amazing that you are a miracle. To be able to be here.
Every one of them should be crazy.
Right.
And most of us are.
Well, yeah, we gotta be crazy. You gotta be like with Dr. King, creatively maladjusted to deal with this insane system.
Yeah. And it's you're right. We don't have a veteran administration to help those freedom
But
fighters.
this is the longest war. You're a veteran of America's longest war, though.
Yeah,
Y'all
but
veterans.
so we got no help.
Mm-hmm.
We got no help, and a lot of them today, it's sad sometimes to see some of them today. You don't hear about them. No insurance, okay, and a lot of them no jobs.
So they have a right to be bitter then.
Oh yeah.
But do you know a lot of these veterans bitter?
Yeah.
And rightfully so, but why people don't, like, I didn't know, I'm going to tell you something. I didn't know that we had that many homeless military veterans until John Edwards
Yeah.
said something about it some years ago.
I didn't either.
I said, okay, but then you talking about the war that nobody wants to acknowledge.
Yeah.
It was waged upon our people, the America's longest war. You said walking wounded and people dispossessed. I mean, like, so what is the answer? Like, is it worth it to fight to be a part of the system?
It was worth it. Absolutely.
Okay.
It was worth it. In my case, I became an alcoholic. It wasn't so much. I'm trying to figure out why I became an alcoholic. It wasn't because I liked alcohol and stuff. I was trying to forget. I kind of boiled it down that I was trying to forget all that stuff that happened, the experiences that I had. For some reason, I left. Suppose I told everybody I was coming to Chicago. Went to Kansas City, Missouri.
Okay.
And that's when I started drinking. Became an alcoholic there, really. And by grace of the good Lord above, and I tell you what, I used to pass out and hear a young lady would come to me and say 4 words. That was all. And she said, "What are you doing?" And that happened to me many times. And she was one of the civil rights movement workers. Her name is in the book, Joan Trumpow.
Yeah, the white lady, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That's his book.
We were friends. And so because of her, I kept hearing those 4 words all the time when I got
Well,
work.
you was hearing it in your head.
Yeah.
You said, I thought,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, heard it in my head. And but anyway, I managed to not drink during the week for some reason, but I was out all the weekend, and because of the encouraging of family members, and because I later got married, and the encouraging of my wife and so forth, had 2 kids, 2 girls, and it lasted up after their births, and they kept pushing me and so forth. So I managed to, and on August 17, 1987, I haven't had a drink of anything since then.
That's beautiful. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Back honest, I mean, people say, well, it could have been worse.
It could be.
And reasonably so, because what you went through.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the nightmares and all that.
You still have nightmares, or you just?
I don't have them anymore.
How long were you having these nightmares?
About 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you never really went to like so-called professional therapy for?
No.
Wow. No Alcoholics Anonymous?
No.
Just quit.
I just
He said enough is enough.
I just threw away the bottle and the pack of cigarettes.
And he stopped smoking.
Yeah.
And all the other people understand, like, no, go back to Dr. King. When they did his autopsy, he was just 39 years old when he died, but they said he had the heart of a 60-something-year-old man.
Yeah.
So all that stress,
Of course.
dealing with this beast,
Yeah.
this system.
Yes.
And to me, my thing is now as I get older, racism's not even black people's problem. That's what white folks say.
White
Though.
people.
But yeah, we shouldn't be concerned with it.
Yeah.
It's like they can't deal with it. It's like, okay, you look at the movie, you seen the movie Hidden Figures, right?
Not yet. I saw some of them, but not that one.
Yeah, but like they had the woman, like the IBM, the computer lady, the wizard.
Oh yeah, the 3.
She was at the Academy Award, but
Yeah.
she's the last one living. She'll be 100 years old in like a couple years.
Oh yeah, I know about the
Yeah, Catherine
situation.
Johnson. Yeah, but I'm saying they had the nerve to hide these women.
Yeah.
As brilliant as they were, these white folks ain't go. They got the nerve to make up a character that Kevin Costner played to make. Oh, we had some white saviors. We had some white people, but really, it's white people that's doing this to black people.
Yes.
Like, you know, the time they come at the bombings. The major bombings they ever did on cities were Black Wall Street, Tulsa, Oklahoma, then in Philadelphia, Mississippi. I mean, not Philadelphia, Mississippi, but Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, move. On a black man, John No Good, Johnny B. No Good Wilson.
Last one was Michael X.
There you go. There you go. But I'm saying, but like we dealing with this trauma. But I'm saying, to me, the greatest evidence of white supremacy is white guilt, and this system is guilty as charged. And my thing is, do you think that we'll ever come to a point where we could get reparations, or it's impossible?
That's a good one.
Or are you for reparations?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Will we get it? Eventually. You know what? We may, because the pendulum swings back and forth. You know, we're not gonna get it now. Soon, we're not good. I think when it swings a little more, just right, we might have a possibility of getting reparation. But you know you ain't gonna get it from Trump. But
yeah, I would ask you out there. Come in. I know I gotta do part 2. I know I gotta go. Yeah, we're good. I just like, this is so exciting. Guess what? Like you say, once you start talking about with unfinished business, it's like it's a rabbit hole. It's like rabbit hole. It's like universes upon. It's a multiverse. Yeah. Because there's so many ways we could go with it.
Oh sure.
Because I think our problem is black folks. I'm tired of us. Like you live in Chicago, right?
Outside of Chicago,
but here's the thing about Chicago. Chicago always been a testing ground for the government. Okay. You know, when they first World War I ended too early for them to use the machine guns. They started using it first in Chicago. Yeah. You know, like people talk about how they would leave railroad cars full of guns and stuff outside Chicago for the gangs to get and bring to Chicago. People even talk about them finding like guns and weaponry in the alleyways of Chicago. To me, Chicago is a laboratory experiment. It's a testing ground for what they're gonna do for the rest of America. It's always been like that. I had a chance to talk to Al Capone's great niece. She was like 7 years old when Al Capone died. Okay. Now they're saying that the Chicago police were actually the ones behind the St. Valentine's Day massacre. It wasn't Al Capone. But my thing is like, if you got certain pockets of a place, like I got certain parts of the South Side and West Side of Chicago that's like crazy, but all the rest, North Side is good. You know, Lakeshore, all that stuff is great. I mean, it's a system doing that. It's not the people. That's right. And then they said in an article several weeks ago that a company left like piles and piles of manganese on the South Side. And you know, they put manganese in malt liquor. And I think I always talk about manganese. You give you enough, it'll kill your mama. So like, you talk about chemtrails and all this stuff, then you can shut down education. So really, who's to blame for Chicago? Is black folks to blame for Chicago?
Oh no. You said it. It's the system.
So why would you gonna blame it ourselves? Why can't you see that? It's like being in fences, like Denzel character in fences. You think it's you, but it's really the white supremacy. Yes. God don't black men, like you said, you know, the bill brothers and sisters because the system. Yes. It's not you. So how can we better understand that as a group of people, as a collective?
I don't know. I really don't know. But I think that we have a lot of work to do. And how we're going to do that? And we got to keep talking. And basically, I'm going to tell you a guy, you don't know it, but I hate to, I'm not the rabble rouser. I'm not the guy that's...
You say you not, but I don't know about it. I don't know about you very low key.
I don't like to talk about the wrong. Right. Okay. I prefer to talk about what's coming, what's possible. Okay. How we can improve ourselves. I like to deal with that a whole lot, and I do a lot of presentations and a lot of white folks. Believe it or not, most white folk come before black folk do.
Of course, I know. I'm looking at this man.
Yeah, and I deal with what can we do, you know, and stuff like that. I don't necessarily. I get tired of talking about Trump. I don't want to talk about Trump. I know Trump. Whatever you say, yeah, okay, that's Trump.
But are you afraid? Like, I meet so many black people, young and old, afraid of Trump. Should we be afraid of Donald Trump and what he represents? Or rather, what he represents?
You should be afraid in the sense that what's been perpetrated on us, what they're trying to do to us, and what they're trying to do to us is take us back. Okay, at least at a minimum to the 50s. Okay, and stuff. And hopefully it's not.
But they already doing it. The extrajudicial killings.
Oh, yeah.
Now you got. I call it snuff film porn.
Mm-hmm.
Like black lives getting stuffed out before
Yeah.
a social media audience.
Yeah, that's true. But they're trying to take us back there, and so you should be afraid of that. You should be afraid of it because you don't want to go back there. You might not have lived through that, but you don't want to live through that either.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you should do all you can. You do a lot. I like what you're doing, and it's called what you're doing. I think implementing information. You're putting information out there to people so they can understand what's going on and what occurred.
Mm-hmm.